In the wake of Pope Francis's passing, the world held its breath as the College of Cardinals convened in the Sistine Chapel to elect the next leader of the Catholic Church. Pope Francis had transformed the papacy, blending traditional values with a progressive vision that resonated with millions. His death left a profound void, and the upcoming conclave would determine the future direction of the Church. As the cardinals arrived in Rome, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation. Each cardinal brought unique perspectives shaped by their backgrounds, cultures, and experiences. The grand hallways of the Vatican echoed with the sounds of hushed conversations, prayers, and the occasional laughter, a stark contrast to the solemnity of the occasion. Among the cardinals was Cardinal Elena Rossi, a trailblazer as the first female cardinal. Hailing from Italy, she had spent decades working in the Vatican, tirelessly advocating for social justice and environmental conservation. Known for her compassion and fierce dedication, she embodied a new era of thinking that sought to address the Church's role in an evolving world. Despite her achievements, she faced skepticism from some traditionalists who viewed her ascent as a challenge to established norms. As the cardinals gathered in the Vatican gardens for informal discussions, the air was thick with debate. Cardinal Matteo Bellini, a staunch conservative from Italy, argued passionately for a return to traditional values.
We must not forget our roots.
He insisted, his voice steady yet firm.
The doctrines that have guided us for centuries are not outdated. They are our foundation.
Cardinal Rossi listened intently, her brows furrowing slightly.
But we cannot ignore the needs of our time. The Church must be a beacon of hope for those who feel marginalized. If we cling too tightly to the past, we risk losing the very people we are called to serve.
Their conversations often drew a crowd, with other cardinals weighing in on the topics at hand. Some nodded in agreement with Rossi, recalling the struggles they witnessed in their communities, the plight of the poor, the cries for social justice, and the urgency of addressing climate change. Others sided with Bellini, emphasizing the importance of maintaining doctrinal purity in an increasingly secular world. As evening fell, the cardinals returned to their quarters, each reflecting on the discussions. They understood that the stakes were high. The next pope would not only lead the Church, but also influence its role in global affairs, including issues like poverty, migration, and climate change. In their chambers, whispers of potential candidates began to circulate. Names like Cardinal Salazar, known for his diplomatic approach, and Cardinal Rossi, with her progressive stance, emerged in conversations. Yet, the shadow of uncertainty loomed large. Who would have the courage to lead the Church through turbulent times? Would they choose continuity or change? As the days passed, the cardinals participated in daily masses, seeking divine guidance in their decision-making. The solemnity of the rituals served as a reminder of the gravity of their task. They gathered in the chapel, the stunning artwork of Michelangelo looming above them, embodying the sacred legacy they were sworn to uphold. The conclave was not just about electing a new pope, it was a moment of reflection for the Church itself. Each cardinal carried the weight of their community's hopes and fears, aware that the choice they would make would resonate far beyond the walls of the Vatican. In those moments of prayer and contemplation, the cardinals began to understand the essence of their mission, to seek a leader who could inspire a renewed faith, a leader who could navigate the delicate balance between tradition and transformation. The gathering was more than a meeting. It was the beginning of a journey that would shape the future of the Catholic Church. As the conclave drew closer, the cardinals found themselves immersed in fervent discussions, both formal and informal, in the hallowed halls of the Vatican. The weight of their responsibility loomed large, and the atmosphere was charged with a mix of hope and apprehension. Each cardinal felt the urgency of their mission, to elect a leader who could guide the Church through an era of profound change. And the mornings, over breakfast in the Vatican dining room, conversations flowed freely. Cardinal Elena Rossi often found herself in passionate debates with Cardinal Matteo Bellini and others who shared his conservative views.
We must acknowledge the realities of today's world,
Rossi argued, her voice unwavering.
The Church cannot be a fortress. It must be a refuge for all, especially those who feel excluded. Bellini, His expression serious, countered.
But if we stray too far from our teachings, we risk losing our identity. The faith has to be anchored in timeless truths.
His emphasis on doctrine resonated with many who feared that rapid changes could dilute the Church's core beliefs. Throughout the week, these discussions deepened. Some cardinals expressed concerns about the Church's declining influence in secular societies.
We need to reclaim our voice,
Said Cardinal Luis Ortega from Spain, his brow furrowed with intensity.
We must be bold in addressing issues like poverty and inequality, not just within the Church, but globally.
Rossi nodded, appreciating his perspective.
Exactly. We need to be vocal and visible, showing that our faith is alive and relevant. This is our opportunity to lead by example.
During a particularly lively discussion, Cardinal Thomas O'Malley from the United States shared a poignant story from his archdiocese.
I visited a homeless shelter last week and I was struck by the desperation in those eyes. They don't need doctrine, they need hope. The Church must extend its hand to those in need, not just preach from the pulpit.
As each cardinal shared their experiences, the tapestry of perspectives began to weave together a complex picture of the Church's current state. Some cardinals advocated for a synodal approach, where laypeople and clergy alike would have a voice in decision-making.
We cannot operate in a vacuum,
Said Cardinal Nia Mwangi from Kenya.
Involving our communities will not only strengthen the Church, but also enhance its relevance.
These conversations were not without their tensions, however. Traditionalists warned against what they saw as a slippery slope toward compromise.
We must remember that our mission is not to conform to the world, but to transform it through our faith.
Bellini asserted, his tone firm.
Change must come from a place of faith, not fear.
Cardinal Rossi countered.
But transformation is essential. If we fail to adapt, we risk becoming obsolete. The youth are looking for authenticity and connection, not just dogma. As they engaged in these spirited debates, the cardinals also took moments to reflect in solitude. In the quiet of their chambers, they prayed for guidance, seeking the wisdom to discern the right path forward. Many lit candles in the small chapels scattered throughout the Vatican, offering silent pleas for inspiration. As the days passed, the discussions shifted from individual ideologies to potential candidates for the papacy. Names circulated in whispers, each cardinal weighing the merits and shortcomings of those who might lead. Cardinal Rossi, a champion of reform, began to emerge as a potential frontrunner among progressive factions, while Bellini rallied support for more conservative candidates.
Let's not forget the importance of unity.
Cardinal Salazar, a moderate from South America, reminded his peers during one gathering.
We need a leader who can bridge our divides, someone who embodies both compassion and tradition.
His words resonated with many, highlighting the need for a pope who could unite rather than divide. The cardinals began to realize that the next pope would not only need to address the immediate challenges facing the Church, but also heal the rifts that had formed over the years. As the conclave approached, the cardinals felt the weight of history on their shoulders. Each conversation, each prayer, and each moment of reflection brought them closer to an understanding of their collective mission, to seek a leader who could inspire hope, foster unity, and guide the Church into a new era of faith and compassion. The stakes were high, and their decision would echo through the ages. As the sun set over Vatican City, casting a golden hue across the ancient stones, the cardinals gathered in the Sistine Chapel for the conclave. The atmosphere was heavy with anticipation and reverence, the air thick with the scent of incense and the weight of centuries of tradition. The chapel, adorned with Michelangelo's masterpieces, seemed to hold its breath, as if aware of the significance of the moment. The cardinals took their places, each one acutely aware of the responsibility resting on their shoulders. They exchanged quiet glances, a mixture of resolve and uncertainty reflected in their eyes. The conclave was not merely a meeting, it was a sacred ritual shrouded in secrecy and solemnity, a moment when the future of the Catholic Church would be decided. Cardinal Angelo Romano, the Dean of the College of Cardinals, opened the session with a prayer, invoking the Holy Spirit to guide their hearts and minds in the selection of the next pope.
May we be instruments of peace and wisdom.
He intoned, his voice resonating in the hallowed space. As the final Amen echoed, the Cardinals began the voting process, a tradition steeped in history. Each cardinal cast his ballot in silence, a ritual of deep significance. The slips of paper, inscribed with names, would determine the future leader of the church. After the first round of voting, the tension in the chapel was palpable. The ballots were collected and counted, the results meticulously recorded. Cardinal Romano's voice broke the silence, announcing the outcome.
No candidate had received the necessary two-thirds majority.
The Cardinals returned to their seats, disappointment mingling with determination. They understood that the path ahead would not be easy. The divergent opinions within the group were stark. As they prepared for a second round of voting, discussions resumed, this time with a sense of urgency. Cardinal Rossi, feeling the weight of the moment, stood up to address her peers.
We must remember why we are here. The world is watching, and we are called to lead with courage. Let us not be divided by our differences but united by our shared mission. Her words resonated with many, igniting a spark of hope.
Once more, the Cardinals cast their votes. The slips of paper once again shuffled and counted. The tension mounted as the minutes stretched into hours. Again, the results were announced. Still no clear winner. Frustration began to seep into the atmosphere, and murmurs of discontent flared among the cardinals. In the quiet moments between votes, some cardinals sought solace in prayer, lighting candles in the small chapel adjoining the Sistine Chapel. Others gathered in small groups to discuss potential compromises. Cardinal Salazar, the moderate from South America, emerged as a voice of calm amidst the growing tension.
We cannot afford to let our divisions dictate our choices.
He urged. We need to find common ground. As the third round of voting commenced, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation. Each cardinal approached the ballot box with a sense of purpose, knowing that this vote could determine the church's trajectory for generations. When the results were announced once more, a collective sigh echoed through the chapel. Still no majority. The tension reached a boiling point. Cardinal Bellini, frustrated by the ongoing deadlock, raised his voice.
If we do not act decisively, we risk losing the trust of our faithful. We must choose a leader who will guide us back to our roots.
In contrast, Rossi stood firm, her voice steady and resolute.
And we must also reach out to those who feel alienated. This is our chance to show that the church can be a place of love and acceptance.
With the conclave dragging on, the cardinals decided to break for a moment of reflection. They walked into the Vatican gardens, seeking fresh air and clarity. In the serene beauty of the garden, surrounded by vibrant flowers and ancient trees, they found a moment of peace. Returning to the chapel, the atmosphere felt different. The cardinals, though weary, seemed more united in purpose. They understood that they needed to embrace the future, not fear it. As they sat once more in the chapel, the fourth round of voting began, infused with a renewed sense of hope.